You know that feeling when you spend weeks picking out the perfect Christmas gifts, dreaming about warm hugs and family laughter around the tree? I had that exact feeling as I loaded my car with carefully wrapped presents, my heart practically bursting with excitement about surprising my sister Amanda and her family. After all, family is everything, right? I had been supporting them financially for years, always putting their needs first, because that is what sisters do. But the thing I received when I arrived at my sister's front door was not the welcoming embrace I expected. Before I share this story with you, please let me know where you are watching from, and do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe, because this is a lesson about family that everyone needs to hear. Trust me, what happened next will change how you think about loyalty forever. I am Sarah, 28 years old, working as a marketing coordinator in Austin, Texas. 3 years ago, my world completely shifted when my parents died in a devastating car accident on Interstate 35 during a winter storm. Mum and Dad were driving home from visiting my aunt in Dallas when their car skidded on black ice and collided with a semi-truck. The phone call came at 2 a.m, and nothing has ever been the same since. After the funeral, it was just Amanda and me. She is 4 years older, lives in Detroit with her husband Brad and their 2 children, Kyle, who is 8, and Emma, who is 6. Growing up, Amanda was always the golden child, while I was the reliable one, the one who cleaned up messes and never complained. Our parents adored Amanda's outgoing personality and dramatic flair, while they expected me to be the responsible sister who held everything together. When Mom and Dad passed away, I discovered that being the responsible one meant much more than I ever imagined. The funeral expenses alone cost $25,000 money that Amanda claimed she did not have access to immediately. Her savings were tied up in investments, she explained, so I stepped up and covered everything from the caskets to the burial plots to the reception dinner. Amanda promised she would reimburse me once her investments matured, but that conversation never happened again. 6 months later, Amanda called crying because she and Brad were about to lose their dream house in Detroit. The seller was threatening to back out unless they could come up with an additional $15,000 for the down payment within 72 hours. Their credit was not good enough for a larger loan, she sobbed into the phone. I had been saving that money for my own future, maybe a down payment on a condo in Austin, but hearing my sister's desperation broke my heart. I wired the money that same day. Then came Amanda's wedding renewal ceremony the following spring. She wanted to renew her vows because their original wedding had been small and disappointing, she said. This time she wanted everything perfect. The dress she had always dreamed of, flowers that looked like they came from a magazine, and a reception hall that could fit 150 guests. The total cost was $18,000, which somehow became my responsibility when their wedding loan fell through at the last minute. I charged it all to my credit cards, telling myself that family comes first, and that Amanda would eventually pay me back. The monthly payments started piling up after that. Amanda's car broke down, and instead of buying used, she convinced me that a reliable new vehicle was essential for her children's safety. I agreed to cover the $450 monthly payment, which was supposed to be temporary until Brad got his promotion at the manufacturing plant where he worked. That promotion never materialized, but the car payments continued for 2 solid years. When Amanda's credit card debt reached $12,000, she called me in tears again. She had been using the cards for necessities, she claimed, things like groceries and children's clothes and medical copays. The minimum payments were $300 monthly, an amount that was apparently breaking their budget. Without hesitation, I added her cards to my automatic payment system, telling myself that helping family was the right thing to do. The childcare expenses were next. Amanda decided to go back to work part-time at a local boutique, but daycare for Emma cost $300 every month. Since her part-time income barely covered gas and lunch money, I started sending monthly payments directly to the daycare center. Amanda assured me this arrangement would only last until Emma started kindergarten, but somehow I was still paying when Emma turned 6. Throughout all these years of financial support, Amanda would call regularly with updates about their lives, always mentioning how grateful they were for my generosity. She would say things like, "I do not know what we would do without you, Sarah, and you are such an amazing sister. We are so lucky to have you." These words made me feel needed and important, like I was making a real difference in their lives. This past November, I started planning something special for Christmas. I wanted to surprise Amanda's family with the perfect gifts, things I knew they wanted but could never afford. For Kyle, I found a Nintendo Switch bundle with 3 games, something he had been begging his parents for all year. For Emma, I discovered a limited edition American Girl doll with accessories and extra outfits, the kind of present that makes little girls' dreams come true. I spent 2 weeks of my salary on those gifts alone, but seeing their faces light up would be worth every penny. I also bought thoughtful presents for Amanda and Brad, a luxury skincare set for her, and a high-quality toolkit for him. I booked a hotel room for 4 nights requested vacation time from work and made careful plans to drive from Austin to Detroit for an extended Christmas celebration. 2 weeks before Christmas, I called Amanda to confirm the details. I am so excited to see everyone, I told her, barely containing my enthusiasm. I have some amazing surprises planned. That sounds wonderful, Amanda replied, her voice warm and welcoming. The whole family will be here. It is going to be such a special Christmas. The kids cannot wait to see their favorite aunt. On Christmas morning, I loaded my Honda Civic with wrapped presents, packed my suitcase with festive outfits, and started the 4-hour journey from Austin to Detroit at 6 in the morning. The highways were surprisingly clear for Christmas Day, and I spent the drive singing along to holiday classics on the radio, imagining the joyful reunion waiting ahead. I stopped at a gas station in Oklahoma to fill up and decided to buy a thermos of hot chocolate and a box of homemade cookies as an extra surprise. The elderly woman working behind the counter smiled when I told her about my Christmas plans. Family gatherings are the best part of the holidays, she said sweetly. Your sister is lucky to have someone who cares so much. By 3 in the afternoon, I was pulling into Amanda's driveway in a quiet suburban neighborhood, lined with modest 2-story houses, decorated with twinkling lights and inflatable lawn ornaments. Several cars were already parked in front of the house, and I could hear laughter and conversation drifting from inside. My heart raced with excitement as I gathered the gift bags and approached the familiar red front door. I knocked gently at first, then a bit louder, my arms full of carefully wrapped presents, and my face glowing with anticipation. Through the frosted glass window, I could see movement and hear voices, the unmistakable sounds of a family celebration in full swing. The aroma of roasted turkey and cinnamon rolls wafted from inside, making my stomach growl and my excitement grow even stronger. When Amanda finally opened the door, her expression shifted dramatically from surprise to something I had never seen before. A look of genuine annoyance mixed with embarrassment. Behind her, I caught glimpses of our extended family members, people I had not seen since our parents' funeral 3 years earlier. Uncle Tom was sitting on the living room couch, the same Uncle Tom who had borrowed $3,000 from me last spring to cover his property taxes. Aunt Linda was in the kitchen doorway, holding a wine glass, wearing the expensive necklace I had helped Amanda buy for Linda's birthday. "Oh, Sarah," Amanda said, her voice carrying a strange tone that made my stomach drop. She glanced nervously over her shoulder at the gathered family members, then looked back at me with what I can only describe as fake sympathy. "This year's just for immediate family." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stood there holding gift bags worth hundreds of dollars, staring at my sister trying to process what she had just said. "But I am family." I managed to stammer, my voice barely above a whisper. "I am your sister." Amanda's laugh was cold and artificial, nothing like the warm sound I remembered from our childhood. "I know, sweetie, but we decided to keep it really small this year. You understand, right? Maybe next year we can do something bigger." Behind her, I could see Brad emerging from the kitchen wearing a new sweater that looked suspiciously expensive. He avoided making eye contact with me completely instead, whispering something into Amanda's ear that made her nod in agreement. The sound of children laughing echoed from the living room, probably Kyle and Emma playing with gifts they had already unwrapped. "But I drove 4 hours, I said weakly, still not fully comprehending what was happening. "I took time off work. I brought presents." Amanda glanced at the gift bags in my arms, and for a split second, I saw something that looked almost like guilt cross her face. But it vanished quickly, replaced by that same artificial sweetness. "I am sorry you made the trip, but we really cannot accommodate any extra people today. The house is already so crowded, and we have dinner planned for a specific number." Through the doorway, I could see Uncle Tom raising his beer bottle in a toast, probably telling one of his famous holiday stories. Aunt Linda was laughing at something someone had said, completely oblivious to the devastating conversation happening at the front door. These were the same people who had hugged me at our parents' funeral, who had told me what a good sister I was for taking care of everything. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 30 seconds, my mind racing to understand this rejection. Was this really happening? Was I actually being turned away from my own sister's Christmas celebration? The sister I had been financially supporting for 3 years. The sister whose mortgage I had helped make possible. Whose children I had been helping to feed and care for. Amanda started to close the door slowly, as if ending this conversation was just a normal part of her day. "We will definitely talk soon," she said, with that fake brightness still in her voice. "Maybe we can get together for New Year's or something." Brad appeared more fully in the doorway, now putting his arm around Amanda's shoulders in a gesture that felt protective and exclusionary at the same time. He still would not look directly at me, instead, staring at some point beyond my shoulder. "Yeah, New Year's sounds good," he mumbled, though his tone suggested he was just agreeing with whatever Amanda wanted. Without saying another word, I turned around and walked back to my car, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the gift bags twice. Behind me, I heard the front door close with a soft but definitive click, followed by the immediate resumption of laughter and conversation from inside the house. It was as if I had never been there at all, as if my presence had been nothing more than a brief interruption to their perfect family Christmas. I sat in my Honda Civic for several minutes, unable to start the engine, staring at the house that looked so warm and inviting from the outside. Through the front window, I could see the Christmas tree twinkling with lights and ornaments, surrounded by torn wrapping paper and happy family members. This was the celebration I had been looking forward to for weeks, the family gathering I had spent my hard-earned money to make possible. My phone buzzed with a text message, snapping me out of my shocked trance. I looked down expecting maybe an apology from Amanda, or an explanation for what had just happened. Instead, I saw a message from Brad, clearly intended for someone else entirely. Why would that loser even show up? Amanda told me she didn't invite her. My heart stopped. A few seconds later, another message appeared. She always acts like she's doing us favors with her money, so pathetic. Then a third. At least now we don't have to pretend to be grateful for her cheap presents. I stared at the screen, reading and rereading those words until they were burned into my memory. Brad had obviously meant to send these messages to someone else, probably his brother or one of his friends, but had accidentally sent them to me instead. The cruel reality of their true feelings about me, about my generosity, about everything I had done for their family was now spelled out in black and white. The woman they called a loser was the same person who had been paying their car payment for 2 years. The person whose money they called pathetic was the one who had made their house purchase possible. The presents they were dismissing as cheap were gifts I had saved for weeks to afford, presents chosen with love and careful consideration for what would make them happiest. I scrolled up through my message history with Amanda, suddenly seeing everything with new clarity. Every conversation for the past 3 years had been about money in some way. She would call to chat about her day, but always ended up mentioning a financial stress or asking for help with some unexpected expense. She had never called just to see how I was doing, never asked about my life in Austin, never shown genuine interest in my dreams or challenges. I remembered last Christmas how distant and cold Amanda had seemed despite my presence and generous gifts. I had attributed her mood to holiday stress or exhaustion from hosting, but now I realized she had probably been annoyed by my very existence even then. The only time she ever seemed genuinely warm and appreciative was when I was handing over money or agreeing to take on another financial responsibility. The pattern was so clear now that I could not believe I had missed it for so long. Every birthday card, every holiday phone call, every family update had been part of an elaborate manipulation designed to keep me invested in their lives while giving as little as possible in return. I was not their beloved sister and aunt. I was their personal ATM, their reliable source of financial rescue whenever they needed it. Something shifted inside me as I sat in that car staring at Brad's accidental messages on my phone screen. The hurt and shock I had been feeling gradually transformed into something much more powerful, absolute clarity. For 3 years, I had been operating under the illusion that I was a valued family member, but the truth was much simpler and much more painful. I was nothing more than a financial resource to be exploited. I took a deep breath and opened my mobile banking application, feeling calmer than I had in months. If Amanda wanted immediate family, only then she could have immediate family financial responsibility only as well. My fingers moved with steady purpose as I navigated through my various accounts, preparing to make the changes I should have made years ago. The first thing I cancelled was the automatic car payment. $450 every month for 24 months, totaling nearly $11,000 of my money that had gone toward a vehicle I never drove and barely benefited from. With a few taps on my phone screen, I removed the automatic withdrawal and deleted the saved payment information. Next came the childcare payments. $300 monthly for almost 2 years, money I had sent directly to Emma's daycare centre because Amanda claimed she could not afford it. I logged into the daycare's parent portal using the account information Amanda had shared with me and removed my credit card as the backup payment method. From now on, Amanda would have to figure out how to pay for her own daughter's care. The credit card minimum payments were next on my list. $12,000 in debt that Amanda had accumulated debt I had been servicing faithfully every month without question. I called the credit card company using the customer service number on my phone and removed myself as an authorized payer. The representative asked if I was sure, explaining that the account would go into default if the primary cardholder did not make payments. I told her I was absolutely certain. Then I remembered Amanda's family's position on my health insurance plan. When Brad's employer had reduced benefits 2 years ago, I had added Amanda, Brad, and both children to my policy as dependents, claiming they lived with me temporarily. The additional premium cost was nearly $400 monthly, but Amanda had convinced me it was necessary for the children's well-being. I called my insurance company's 24-hour line and removed all 3 of them from my coverage, effective at the end of the current month. The streaming service accounts were almost embarrassing to cancel because there were so many of them. Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, and Apple TV+. Amanda's entire family had been using my login credentials for almost 3 years, enjoying unlimited entertainment while I paid the monthly fees. I logged into each service individually and changed all the passwords, then removed their devices from my approved list. I also remembered Amanda's phone plan situation. When her family had been struggling with a large phone bill 2 years ago, I had added all 4 of them to my unlimited family plan. My monthly phone bill had nearly tripled, going from $80 to $230, but Amanda had assured me this was temporary until they could get back on their feet financially. I called my wireless provider and removed all 4 of their numbers from my account immediately, but I was not finished yet. I remembered the conversation we had had just 2 weeks ago about Amanda's upcoming mortgage payment. She had mentioned that they were going to be late on January's payment because of Christmas expenses, and I had promised to help cover the late fees to protect their credit score. I called her mortgage company and removed my name from their list of authorized contacts, ensuring I could never again be drawn into their financial emergencies. As I sat there methodically dismantling 3 years of financial entanglement, I felt something I had not experienced in a long time: genuine peace. Each cancelled payment and changed password felt like removing a heavy weight from my shoulders. I was not being vindictive or cruel. I was simply stepping back from a relationship that had become completely one-sided. I took screenshots of every cancellation confirmation for my records, then started my car and began the 4-hour drive back to Austin. My phone remained completely silent for the entire journey, which was unusual considering Amanda typically sent me multiple texts throughout any given day. I stopped in San Antonio at an upscale steakhouse I had never been able to afford before and ordered a prime rib dinner with all the sides using money I would normally have been sending to Detroit. When I reached my apartment in Austin just before midnight, I felt exhausted but genuinely hopeful for the first time in months. I texted my best friend Jessica, "I am done being a doormat. Christmas miracle happened today." Then I turned off my phone and slept more peacefully than I had in years, knowing that tomorrow would be the first day of my new, financially independent life. That night, I dreamed about my parents for the first time since their funeral. In the dream, they were sitting at our old kitchen table, smiling proudly at me. "We raised you to be strong," my mother said. "We never wanted you to sacrifice your happiness for anyone else's comfort." When I woke up, I knew I had finally made the right choice. I woke up on the day after Christmas, feeling more refreshed than I had in months, sunlight streaming through my apartment windows in Austin. My phone had been turned off all night, giving me the first peaceful sleep I could remember in years. When I finally powered it on around 8 in the morning, the screen immediately exploded with notifications that made my heart race, with a mixture of satisfaction and vindication. 61 missed calls. The majority were from Amanda, 35 calls that had started around 6 in the morning, Detroit time. Brad had called 12 times, which was more than he had called me in the entire previous year combined. Uncle Tom, who had borrowed $3,000 from me for property taxes, had called 8 times. Even Aunt Linda had called 6 times, probably after discovering that her streaming services had been cut off. But the message that made me smile was a single text from Amanda that had come in around 7 that morning. "We need to talk." I made myself a cup of coffee, settled onto my balcony overlooking downtown Austin, and began listening to the voicemails in chronological order. The progression was fascinating, starting with confusion and escalating rapidly into panic and anger. The first voicemail was from Amanda at 6:15 in the morning. "Sarah, I do not understand what happened. My car payment was declined this morning and the bank is saying there are no scheduled payments. Can you please call me back? I am sure this is just some kind of mistake with the automatic system." By 7:30, the tone had shifted dramatically. Brad's voice was tight with barely controlled fury. "Sarah, I do not know what kind of game you're playing, but you need to call us back immediately. Amanda is crying because the daycare called and said Emma cannot come back until someone pays the outstanding balance. This is ridiculous behavior, even for you." Uncle Tom had left a message around 8. "Sarah, honey, Amanda told me that you cut off their health insurance and car payments. That cannot be right, can it? You have always been such a generous person. Families are supposed to help each other through difficult times. Please call me back so we can sort this out." The most revealing voicemail came from Aunt Linda at 8:45. "Sarah, I understand you are upset about something, but punishing the children is not the answer. Kyle and Emma did not do anything wrong, and they should not have to suffer because of some adult disagreement. You have always been the mature one in this family." I found it fascinating how quickly the family narrative had shifted. Yesterday, I was not even immediate family worthy of Christmas dinner. Today, I was suddenly being lectured about family responsibility and maturity. The hypocrisy was so blatant, it would have been comedic if it were not so hurtful. Around 9 in the morning, my phone rang again. This time, it was Amanda calling from a number I did not recognize, probably borrowing someone else's phone, after I had not answered her previous 35 attempts. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to her message a few minutes later. "Sarah, I know you are home because I can see your car in the apartment complex parking lot. I drove 4 hours to talk to you just like you drove 4 hours yesterday. I am sitting outside your building right now, and I am not leaving until we resolve this situation. Whatever I did wrong, we can fix it, but you cannot just abandon your family like this." The irony was stunning. Amanda had driven 4 hours to see me exactly as I had driven 4 hours to see her, but somehow my journey had been meaningless, while hers was a grand gesture worthy of respect and attention. I called the front desk of my apartment building and spoke to the security guard on duty. "There is a woman in the parking lot claiming to be my sister," I told him. "I am not available to see anyone today." "Would you like me to ask her to leave?" the guard asked professionally. "That would be appreciated, thank you." 20 minutes later, Amanda texted me from the parking lot. "I can see your car. I know you are home. Stop being so childish and come down here so we can talk like adults." I responded with the exact words she had used on me the day before, "Maybe next year," keeping it small this year. The texts that followed were a masterclass in manipulation and blame shifting. Amanda accused me of being petty, vindictive, selfish, and cruel. She claimed I was abandoning my niece and nephew, ruining their lives over a simple misunderstanding. She insisted that excluding me from Christmas had been Brad's idea, not hers, and that she had been planning to invite me all along. But the most telling message came when she finally realized I was not going to respond to her emotional appeals. "You cannot just cut off family because of one bad day. We have supported each other for years. I have always been grateful for everything you have done. This is not who you are, Sarah." The phrase, "we have supported each other," was particularly enlightening. In Amanda's mind, accepting my money apparently counted as supporting me in return. Her gratitude, which I now realized had always been performative, was supposed to be sufficient payment for 3 years of financial sacrifice. Throughout the afternoon, various family members continued calling and texting. each trying a different approach to guilt me into resuming my role as the family's financial safety net. Uncle Tom emphasized family loyalty. Aunt Linda focused on the children's well-being. Even Brad's brother, someone I had met only twice in my life, sent a message about forgiveness and moving forward. But the most significant call came from Jessica, my best friend since college, who had watched me struggle with this family dynamic for years. "I am so proud of you," she said when I told her everything that had happened. "I have been waiting for this day for 3 years. You deserve so much better than being treated like a personal bank account." That evening, Jessica organized an impromptu gathering at her house with several of our mutual friends, people who had become my chosen family in Austin. As we sat around her living room, sharing stories and laughing together, I realized something profound. This was what genuine family felt like. These people cared about my happiness, asked about my dreams, and valued my presence, rather than my financial contributions. Over the following weeks, Amanda's contact attempts gradually decreased in frequency, but increased in desperation. She tried reaching out through mutual acquaintances, old family friends, and even my former high school teachers, who still lived in our hometown. The message was always the same. I was being unreasonable, I was hurting innocent children, and I needed to forgive and forget for the sake of family unity. 3 months later, I was looking at my bank statements and realized I had saved over $5,000 by ending my financial support of Amanda's family. Money that had previously disappeared into their endless needs was now available for my own goals and dreams. I used it as a down payment on a small investment property, something I had never been able to afford while supporting 2 households. Amanda made one final attempt at reconciliation through our cousin David, someone I had helped pay for college tuition 5 years earlier. He called me on a Saturday morning, clearly uncomfortable with his assigned role as mediator. "Amanda asked me to reach out," he admitted. "She wants you to know that she realizes she made mistakes and she is willing to work things out if you can start fresh." "What does starting fresh mean to her?" I asked. David hesitated. "I think she means going back to how things were before, but with better communication." I laughed, not with humor, but with genuine amazement at Amanda's continued inability to understand the situation. Going back to how things were before meant resuming my role as her personal financial institution while receiving nothing meaningful in return. "Please tell Amanda that I have learned something important," I said to David. "Being family means mutual respect and love, not one-sided financial support. I wish her well, but I am no longer available as her personal bank. She will need to find other solutions for her financial challenges." That conversation was 6 months ago, and I have not heard from Amanda since. I still think about her sometimes, especially during holidays, and I hope she is finding ways to manage her responsibilities independently. But I no longer feel guilty about protecting my own financial and emotional well-being. The most surprising outcome of this entire experience has been discovering how much happier I am without the constant stress of managing someone else's financial emergencies. I have started taking art classes, something I always wanted to do but never had the money for. I have traveled to places I had only dreamed about visiting. Most importantly, I have learned to distinguish between people who need me and people who value me. That Christmas taught me the difference between being needed and being valued, between being family and being an ATM. Sometimes, the best gift you can give yourself is knowing when to stop giving to those who only take. The family that excludes you from their celebrations, while depending on your support, is not really family at all. Looking back now, I realize that my parents would have been proud of me for finally standing up for myself. They raised me to be strong and independent, not to sacrifice my happiness for someone else's comfort. Real family celebrates your presence and appreciates your contributions without taking advantage of your generosity. I have found peace in my chosen family here in Austin, people who value me for who I am rather than what I can provide financially. My relationships are now based on mutual respect and genuine affection, rather than one-sided obligation and guilt. That Christmas crisis became the greatest gift I ever received, the gift of self-respect and the knowledge that I deserve relationships built on love rather than financial dependency. I have never been happier, more financially secure, or more emotionally free. Have you ever been in a situation where family took advantage of your generosity? How did you handle setting boundaries with people who only seemed to value what you could give them rather than who you were as a person? Please share your experiences in the comments below because I know many of you have similar stories, and it helps to know we are not alone in these difficult family dynamics. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about family relationships and finding the strength to put yourself first when necessary. Share this video with anyone who might be struggling with similar boundary issues, because sometimes we all need reminding that self-respect is not selfish. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it gives you the courage to value yourself as much as you value others. Remember, the people who truly love you will respect your boundaries, and the ones who do not probably never really loved you anyway. Wishing you all the strength to know your worth and the wisdom to protect your peace.